Thank you for joining me. I was just reflecting as I sat at the back there. It was 26 years ago I moved to Kuwait, and my first job was to go and buy a women's wear range for a department store we were opening in Jeddah. And the advice I got from the South African buying manager was not too heavyweight, not too revealing. Go out there, we can always mark it down if it doesn't sell. I think even 10 years later, the attitudes weren't very much different. And now, when you come back to Saudi, it's one of the most dynamic fashion markets there is. And we're joined here by two experts in the region who will, I guess, go past where this morning we touched upon some of the things in the market, but I think we want to take a deeper dive into some of these questions. So Yasser, I guess one of the first things to understand about Saudi is the comparison to the rest of the GCC market. I'm sure some people here will have already dipped their toe into the region in Dubai, but this is Saudi is just a completely different country altogether. So maybe you can give us some view of how you're growing your business in the country.
Absolutely. Thank you, John. So Saudi is very different in two perspectives. One is obviously scale is very different. You're talking about the largest country in the region with the largest economy and 35 million of population, 60% of which are locals versus 13% locals in the UAE. So when you talk about Saudi, you should always consider scale and becoming a truly national player and be present across the entire country. So in terms of scale, for example, you have 20 cities with population above 250,000. And that's usually fantastic for retail to have a population that is well spread across different cities. Then we can talk later maybe about the customer profiling, but that's the key. Yes. The key difference is the scale, really, of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and I guess the differences between some of the cities. So I think we touched. Somebody said this morning about the difference between Jeddah and Riyadh, even climatically, but also sometimes attitudinally. But maybe we'll go on to touch upon the customer a little later. So Randa, I mean, you get approached by brands probably more frequently than ever that want to come into the region. How do you manage the expectations around sort of growth and scale? And do you kind of have a set view of what you tell them, or how much would it change by the brand?
First of all, I would like to say that it's so exciting to be presently in Saudi with the 2030 vision inspiration that aligns with our mission at the collective consultancy. Because we always work behind the scene, that's why I would like to mention that our roots go back to 30 years ago when we started our retail fashion business in New York, Montreal, and Toronto. That will give us the strong relationship with the brand and the deep understanding, while in parallel, our roots in the region go back to generation with the long-term business through the whole GCC. And at the collective consultancy, we have a very diversified portfolio from fashion retail to real estate to education, food and beverage, electronics, medical scrubs. And myself, I had the privilege to connect many brands. We are always behind the scene, and we are always bound by confidentiality agreements, So, bridging the gap between many and top retailers in the region with the top US and Canadian brand. To your question, John, about expectation, yes. And especially for the brand that are targeting to get into Saudi. But here, definitely, we have to balance between it's good to be ambitious, but we have to be realistic. So our role and the main point is to be transparent and honest with the brand that we are working with, and to manage the expectation, especially about the timeline of expansion, the returns. But also we have to discuss with them about the investment required. And here always come the importance of having a local partner.
Sure.
Yes. And then the next step of your question is about where to start. If you start in Riyadh or if you start in Jeddah, the scale. For most of the international brands, they always target to start in Riyadh because of the economic importance and the size of the population.
So Yasser, we sort of touched upon scale, but as we then start to talk a little bit about the consumer. So, I mean, you lead a business across the whole region. How do the demographics and the kind of demands of the Saudi consumer different from a Dubai or a Bahrain or Kuwait?
No, very different, as I said. The first key differentiation is the local population representing 60% of total population. Probably they will represent 75% of retail spending. So you're mainly catering to the local population. The local population is young, so you have around 80% of the population is below 45, and around 60% is below 35. Very young population, but also very cool, very fashionable, very trendy, an amazing customer really in Saudi Arabia that is looking for fashion and trends and super well diversified. Young generation in Saudi are very well educated, and very well digital savvy, as we previously heard earlier. So you really have to cater your customer strategy around Saudi locals. That's the big difference between Saudi and any other market in the GCC.
And I guess the changes in the last probably 5 years in that consumer, it's accelerated so much. Is there a sign that is starting the level of change is leveling off, or is the demands and the changes in requirement just accelerating even more?
So the change is extremely positive. We're extremely happy to be here in Saudi and 100% ready. In Maghrabi Retail Group, we operate in Saudi since 1987. We're now considering some serious expansion of our business here. We have around 120 stores in 20 key cities in Saudi Arabia that we're probably looking to double or triple this network within the coming 3 to 5 years. That really, we fully believe in the Vision 2030. The first positive change was the introduction of female into the workforce. Super positive. That has created an amazing opportunity for retailers like us to diversify their workforce and really match consumer demands. But it has also added value to the entire household earning and is actually boosting retail spending. The only challenge is between retailers and obviously entertainment, food and beverage, this constant balancing of how disposable income is being spent.
Yep.
I'm sure our friends in the leisure and entertainment, food and beverage business are doing an amazing job in Saudi now, while retailers have now trying to achieve their double-digit growth. We are on a double-digit growth in Saudi, so we're very, very happy. And the positive change is happening and is actually 100% positive for retailers in all fronts.
Sure. So Randa, you've advised multiple brands on entering the space, and you work with some of the world's largest celebrities and influencers. And I guess the cut through, it was touched on this morning in terms of the level of social media usage here, the use of Snapchat, etc. So they'll already have strong awareness of the people you're bringing in. But what are you and I sense the Saudi female customer is now one of the most discernible and sort of brand aware. So how should a brand try to gain the privilege of getting their trust and sort of building their brand with that female consumer here?
Like for the female consumers.
Do you want to move it a bit closer?
I'm sorry?
You move your mic a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So Saudi women, like, you know, they are very empowered. And I believe they are empowered, they are smart, they are shaping the future of the workforce. And they have a high income. At the same time, they represent like 40% of the purchase power. So to get the privilege of their trust, we have to go beyond words. We have to take action, be innovative. Just like, you know, at the collective consultancy, we had many ideas that we executed. It's about like, instead of doing like, you know, most of the time we sponsor big event and we have just our logo to be another logo on the banner. So instead of that, we have to go and we can stand out by supporting what matters for them. Some ideas that we did execute and they were very impactful, very effective, is that we went and we sponsored a charity event. Like local initiative. We celebrated the achievement of Saudi women entrepreneur and leaders. Also, we organized lots of workshops and training programs that provided tools for personal growth and professional growth. So by this, it's not just we give back to the society, but also we get the positive perspective for our business. And we have like unlimited community ties, which will lead for sure to the privilege of gaining the trust of the Saudi women.
And then they were saying this morning that if you get the trust of a Saudi woman in Saudi, her spending power then in the rest of the world is significant. Your brands presumably see quite an uplift in the Middle East or the Saudi customer in America, in Canada, when they go over there. So it's not only building brand awareness in Saudi that's important, that customer is then going abroad and buying those brands there as well, right?
Yes, for sure. But here there is something important, like we have to understand the Saudi, like to understand the culture of the Saudi client. And we have everything to provide him here, you know, not necessary for him to go abroad to get any brand or to get something. But for companies that we are targeting to enter the Saudi market, they have to understand that they can build their brands working with the Saudi customers instead of just imposing the brand on them. And here there is a key things. Most of the brand, they think, okay, we've been successful back home, be it in the US or be it in Europe, and then all what we need is to have a good location in a shopping mall, and then we have it. So unfortunately, it doesn't work this way. I think that the Saudi consumers are very distinguished. They are smart, they are selective, but also they are very selective. So we need to understand their culture. We need to work for it. We need to work for them, and there is many ways to do that. There is the traditional way that we say that about the social media, and about just like tying our promotion and business with the holidays. But definitely we have to go beyond that. And based on my experience and what we did at the collective consultancy, when you said that we worked with some celebrities, which are the most greatest celebrities, Definitely, I cannot mention names, but maybe I can say that their family names start with the K.
Yep.
Exactly, and maybe their name also. We are very close friends.
Probably have successful TV programs, right?
That also. But allow me to talk about this experience. Really, it was one of the fastest expansion through the GCC. And it's because of their background, yes, but because also we went a step further and we invited local influencers that are trusted by their community and that they have great followers. And we gave them the opportunity to be posted on the brand global page.
Sure. So I'm hearing sort of don't presume what they want.
Exactly.
Speak to them, get involved before you even think about deciding what you want to do in the market.
Exactly. And there, I'm sorry, like,
No,
you know,
please.
the feedback that we got, it was unbelievable, you know. From
And engagement, right? So they're engaged from then on in.
that engaged their community, that engaged them, their followers, so the feedback was great.
Sure.
And the expansion was like, you know, all over GCC.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we talked about the consumer. I think to kind of help people who've not got into the market, we've got to get into the more boring stuff, but equally important. Workforce is obviously a critical thing. We've heard this morning about some of the changes that have occurred, particularly with the promotion of the Vision 2030 of getting over 1 million Saudis into the workforce. Now, what does that mean in terms of sort of talent, motivation, skills, training, even retention? Is that become a lot more difficult for you?
On the contrary, actually.
Right, excellent.
So I see this as one of the positives in Saudi is you're able to recruit highly talented local nationals, whether men or women. You just have to really take it serious in terms of the investment required to upskill your workforce. So as a company, we saw this as an advantage, bringing, number one, they're all very highly educated. So education quality is very high in Saudi. You recruit fresh grads. All what you have to do is really invest in their upskilling. And we've done a lot on that front. We've created our own retail academy. To develop their retail experience, their sales and customer service experience. We've also developed our Vision Experts Academy, where we actually educate locals on upskilling in our fields. We've done collaboration with key universities and with King Saud Optometry School, for example. A lot of collaboration with universities to launch certification programs in opticianry and optometry. And it was super successful. We also are launching very soon our Leadership Academy to help develop talent to middle management and senior management. I can reassure you that the ROI was very positive and the investment we have done was really paying back, because in terms of sales impact, in terms of results impact, it was a positive thing, because when you're able to match your customer with workforce, it's the best case. They know how to talk to their clients, they know how to convert, they know how to recommend. So I would have to say it depends how you see it. If in the beginning, usually it would be difficult to attract and to develop and to retain. Obviously, any strategy like this would require massive effort from the retailer or the organization. But any organization that will make it one of their successful strategies will definitely find a good way.
And are you seeing it then coming through into now the senior management? I suppose there's a lag between when people starting in the industry and getting through, but are you now starting to see that in your kind of in your leadership team?
Yes, absolutely. Now in our entire team, like in terms of Saudization in total, we are at 70%. Right. Our target is to reach 100% in 2027 across all retail stores. In terms of back office, we're already at 50%, and our leadership contribution is also at 50%. We have a lot of Saudi talents that has been promoted to middle management positions and senior management position. We're very glad to have that. It's all about, how long it takes to develop leaders. It's not about whether or not you will be able to make it. You will definitely be able to make it. You have to design the strategies, make the developments, and you will get the positive results at the end.
Which presumably, Randa, for the brands, particularly the fashion brands you work with, being able to get young Saudi women in having direct communication with the customer must make a massive difference to the sort of brands that are now coming to you.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's important also, what we do to have that communication happening. For an example that we did, always I'd like to talk about life examples that we did, is when for our fashion brand, for the lunch, we collaborated, since the Saudi designers are very well known to be very creative, and their creation are related to the culture. So they do represent, and they are also always trusted by their communities. So we partnered up with the local, very talented local designer to create a limited edition capsule that we had dedicated for a corner in the store. And the result also, especially from the young Saudi customers and consumers, reaction was great. And there was just like an emotional bond that was created with the brand between the young consumers and the brand. And it just kept growing by itself. It was really a long-lasting loyalty.
Excellent. Sort of moving on then to some of the other operational costs, I suppose. Yasser, it's a more difficult market to be profitable here, I guess, than some of the other GCC markets in terms of the taxation and costs.
For me?
Yeah. Sorry.
So there are differences at all levels. Overall, and in terms of outcome, it's very profitable as a market. You probably have higher VAT. You have tax for foreign investors. The regulations are a bit more strict. So you need to register products, you need to go through SFDA approvals. So it might be in the beginning a bit harder to launch products. Importation cycle is is also under strict controls. Yet, in terms of profitability, because of the cost structure of the operation is quite diversified, you get actually lower cost in rentals, for example, in shopping malls, but you also have big diversification on retail channels. So you're able to open in malls, in streets, in plazas. So the overall weighted average rent is actually quite in favor of retailers. In terms of workforce cost, it's almost the same like any other GCC country. So you end up having a very decent margin and a very good return on investment. Of course, the only difference is you don't have yet these super mega malls that are existing in other countries, like in Dubai. But they're coming. Yeah.
But you touched on street retail. I mean, that's quite unique to Saudi compared to like Dubai. There's not a huge amount now of street retail. It's all malls. From a real estate perspective, somebody coming in, if you're with a partner, they tend to have a lock on the good real estate. But if you were coming in alone, that is going to be, I guess, one of the bigger challenges is getting a landlord to to trust you with valuable space?
No, I think it's hard to find the right locations if you don't have local experience. Yeah. It would be, so obviously, we have very long experience in location selections, and every segment and every banner we have has very well-defined criteria in terms of real estate selection. So it's like a big science, and we use a lot of data to segment and create the right zones and the right segmentation of every zone. But obviously, street shopping is very important in Saudi. It cannot be undervalued. If you're only existing in malls, you will never become a national player for any brand. So you need to have your strategy for streets. Some brands might choose to have only flagship stores. Some brands, it depends on the category, of course, but
sure.
But it's the only way to scale in Saudi is to have the right real estate strategy. Right. And a right real estate strategy is a multi-channel strategy, is not only one channel.
We touched then upon partnership. And Randa, I know you can now actually bring your brand yourself to the market, and there is some support from the government to be able to do that. But when people talk to me about coming themselves, I caution against it. For you, it's all about local partnerships, right? And you have people in the market that you work with. So when a brand wants to come in, you would try and leverage the importance of trying to get a partner here.
Yes, from our point of view, always having a local partner is very important. We can say that it takes two to tango, but we have to make sure always about the alignment, especially in vision and expectation. So that process is very selective, and it's very delicate, because when we bring in new brands to the market, always we find that in the market there is always those retailers that are open and in the look to add a new trophy on the shelf, while there is other retailers that they are in the look to find a concept or a brand that can become in the future the anchor of their business. Yeah. So it's not about how big the company that we would like to match with, as much as how eager is that retailer or how capable to do it. Yeah. Definitely, he has to have the market knowledge, he has to have to understand the brand DNA and personality and purpose, but this can come. That come with like a training and training programs, procedures by the brand to the local retailers, as well as always we give what we call it cultural sensitivity training to the brand themselves, Yeah. And definitely we keep on monitoring, down the road and the follow-up to make sure that they are in sync and that we can guarantee the sustainability of the business and the long term for both parties.
Sure. Excellent.
For sure.
Okay. And sadly, time is against us. I just wanted to quickly touch from your perspective, Yasser, the growth for you now is that there's probably in the next year or so still huge amounts of, next 2-3 years, huge amounts of growth here before you move the brand into other markets.
Absolutely. There is a big runway in Saudi. We're extremely excited. Actually, it was the key giga projects that are being launched, the mega malls, the global mall standards that are being launched. Truly excited. A lot of touristic investments are happening as well. So we think there is actually quite a nice runway until obviously 2030, or maybe up to 2034 as well. So we see big growth. We see potential. We're, as a group, extremely excited about this period in Saudi, where we think we're probably going to triple our network in Saudi Arabia over the next coming years.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, look, two very experienced people. I'm sure they would be very happy to share their experiences outside. And obviously, you've got a stand outside, which you've got your team on there, so they can come and see you.
I'm sorry?
So outside, if people want to come and speak to you about their brand and bringing it into Saudi, you're very happy to have a conversation.
Yes, like, presently we have lots of brands that,
Yeah.
they are already developed, kind of in the GCC, but now, we are launching in Saudi. They are very diversified in different channels, and maybe, we can, it's too much to talk about them.
Okay.
It's too much to talk
Sure.
about them, but, we do feel that the Saudi market is highly important nowadays. And the coming up, the future, I think, going to be also more opportunity. I think with the new regulation in Saudi Arabia, by allowing the brand to enter directly, that will give a clear message to the international community that Saudi is open for business.
Brilliant. Well, that's
But all the time, we do say that having the local partner is not optional, it's essential.
fine.
Yeah.
That seems like a great way to wrap up. Thank you very much both for your time, and have a good rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.